Hello, my name is Lisa Meyer and I'm the instructional coach at an elementary school in Isle of Wight County, Virginia. I'm so excited to share my school law PBL project with you today. My project involved FERPA and how it affects virtual learning. I started with a driving question, and my driving question was, how can creating an infographic guide and direct teachers in the navigation of the online learning environment and still adhere to FERPA regulations? So in education, we know that technology can be a life changer for students both inside and outside of the classroom. But we also have discovered, especially this year, that it can also be very challenging. So my purpose was kind of twofold. We know that virtual learning has posed a student privacy issue, and we know that student privacy must be considered when we're utilizing all these electronic learning platforms like Canvas or Google Classroom. My process had started by identifying the problem, and this I did through an interview with my building administrator and also instructional coordinator at our central office. And we also looked at the student learning track data to see which students were virtual and which students were on our hybrid track. We then kind of looked at the virtual learning and the FERPA guidelines that were established for the buildings and for the division. From there, I developed an infographic that created information about students' PII and things that should not be shared or posted or recorded. I also did professional development for the virtual teachers about student privacy, FERPA regulations, and sharing the infographic. So I started looking at the data, and I had discovered that 44% of our students in our division are on the virtual track. For virtual learning, the students receive 2 days of whole group live instruction with a teacher, and then the other 3 days are recorded lessons, and they have small group or individual instruction at some point during those 3 days. 56% of our students are on the hybrid track, and the hybrid track students receive 2 days of in-school or in-person instruction, and they have 3 days of recorded lessons for home instruction. So after looking at the data, I started researching FERPA. And if you don't know, FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So this is a federal law that protects the privacy of students' education records. So this applies to all schools that receive funds under the U.S. Department of Education. This slide shows us the FERPA regulations that student education records are confidential and protected by FERPA. Parents have the right to access and release these records. Parents also must be informed of their rights annually. And this also protects any student information that's maintained by the schools in any variety of forms, including handwriting, print, computer media, video, and photos. The next thing I did is I kind of looked at what our virtual learning expectations were for our division. And many parents, when they were deciding whether to do virtual or hybrid, were really concerned that if their kids could not attend one of the Zoom sessions of the live sessions, that they would be missing the instruction for that day. So our school division decided that they wanted the teachers to record their live sessions. And this, of course, could pose a privacy issue. So the teachers were instructed to use Zoom to record their direct instruction portion of their lessons, and they were to upload them to Canvas and publish them in the learning modules. They were warned and told that they should avoid recording like individual students and should be careful about any comments that might identify students or their learning needs. So they were to be really careful not to share any student information in the recorded lessons. That, of course, was a challenge because when the children sign on to that Zoom session, sometimes their name would appear. And so we were trying to figure out, how can we ensure our virtual learning environment doesn't disclose the student's PPI? And so we had to educate our teachers on what PII was. So a student's PII is their personally identifiable information. So this includes their identification number or student number, their full name, home address, birthday, email address, their birthplace, or their race. So right here on the right side of the screen, you can see this is the infographic that was created to share this information with teachers. So it shows all of those personally identifiable information pieces that we do not want shared or posted or recorded into video. So we wanted them to please be mindful about not sharing any of this when they're communicating and teaching, of course. So after I made the infographic, I was thinking about how I could still keep educating everyone about FERPA and virtual learning, how that's all affected. So I thought about the next steps. For our next steps, we want to incorporate the infographic into the Virginia Computer Science SOLs, because there are some cybersecurity lessons that all students have to have. And so we thought this would be a good visual for the students also, so they know not to share that information. We also have 2 computer labs in our building, and I thought it would be nice if we would make a poster of the infographic and keep that in the computer lab, so students and teachers can be aware and reminded not to share this information at all online. So that concludes my PBL presentation. Thank you so much for listening.